The big announcement. Lay it on us. What is it today?
Well, it's about open sourcing. We want to now open source the AI features from Copilot in VS Code.
Believe it or not, Microsoft just open sourced their AI editor. They open sourced the tool that originally started the AI coding bubble, GitHub Copilot.
We try hard to be a good open source project, and open source is one of the reasons I think we got all this developer love. Open sourcing is very important, dear to our heart. It's a way how we develop. That's why this announcement is so exciting.
Hello everyone and welcome to our VS Code Live. My name is Cynthia Zanoni and I'm a cloud advocate here at Microsoft, and today we have our second and final session on the GitHub Copilot Global Bootcamp. So thank you so much for people from Italy, Spain, UK, and many other countries who is joining us today live to learn more about MCP and all the goodies we can do with VS Code. So now I want to invite Bruno Capuano, our speaker today, to just jump in here on the stage and introduce himself. So hello, Bruno, how are you?
Hey, hello everyone. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, people there. Yes, my name is Bruno. Super happy. I see a lot of familiar names and faces in the chat. And hey, thanks, Cynthia, for inviting me, because I always joke about this, but my last streams are usually, I basically show how we are working, how we use the tool. So this is 1 hour of the day that instead of working, I am going to work and share the stream, how we are using the stuff. So it's super fun.
Thank you so much, Bruno. So I will be here in the backstage with everyone watching the chat. So thank you for joining us in the series, and I hope you had an amazing session. And to everyone here in the chat, please share with us the city or the country you are connecting with us, and also share your comments and the questions. So Bruno will be happy to be covered during the session. So thank you so much, Bruno.
Hey, thanks, Cynthia. And yes, let's start. So, quick intro. Bruno, part of the advocate teams also. You can find me online in LinkedIn and everywhere. I have visibility everywhere. If you want to have questions, send me your question. I will answer the question, probably late because I have a lot of stuff, but I try to do this. That said, also, I really, really appreciate that I see a lot of familiar faces and names. They are super nice to have people from India, Mexico, Spain. I see friends from Spain, which is super nice. And I like to do these sessions talking with, basically answering also comments. If you know me, I only have 2 slides. This is this and 2 more. And then I want to show the product. But because we were talking a lot about GitHub and Copilot, and we opened Copilot in Visual Studio Code, so you can take a look at the source code. We have the AI editor right now, which is open source for everyone. And a key piece there is MCP, is the tools and the agents and more. And MCP, we have a lot of sessions about MCP, and we are going to host also later on this month MCP Dev Days, which are going to be amazing. We're only focused on that. But in order to move on today, we need to basically give a high-level overview of how an MCP, what is MCP and how it works. So, long story short, MCP is a protocol. It was created and published by Anthropic. I think it's November last year, and quickly become kind of the standard. There are a lot of people, a lot of big companies, big names, small names. Everybody's participating, and everybody adopted MCP, kind of the way to create tools where you have a large language model and you want to provide them kind of a protocol so the large language model can have some functionality, is provide a feature, but in a good way, in a correct way. So the way that it works is kind of easy. Think about, and this is a very simple explanation, think about that you have a server and you have a client. So the MCP will have a server, someone will host the server with functionality, and someone will consume those functionality. If we go deep there are different type of servers. You can have remote servers. You can have local servers with STD.io. You can have also streaming services. There are also a lot of clients. So in example, Visual Studio Code, by default, in Agent support MCP. This is what we are going to see today. But you can code using Python, C#, JavaScript, TypeScript, Java, whatever language. You can create your own code to connect to these MCP services and start to consume and use it and more. So the whole idea here is that, hey, let's see how this fits into a developer story where we have servers, remember they can be remote or local servers, that are going to be part of our flow in Visual Studio Code. And by the way, there is a lot, oh my God, I see people from Brazil, from Seattle and more. So there is a lot of things happening in the MCP world with topics around authentication, security, and more. Happy to chat about that later. But this is, as I said, this is kind of become de facto in terms of how we are going to work. What are we going to use to connect a large language model? Because what we did before, we basically call a large language model and we use function calling and more to get the best of a large language model. But MCP literally it's a wrap that make everything more productive. So as I said, let's start learning. So where are we going to start? If you want to start, where are we going to start? So as usual, by the way, if you go, you can go to code.visualstudio.com. This is the entry part of doing this. And then you have here the MCP menu that is going to provide access to you to a lot of servers that they are ready to use. You literally can click here and install a server. I am going to do my demos using Visual Studio Code Insiders version. I also have the light mode. Last time, I think it was on Tuesday, we literally spent 20 minutes speaking about light versus dark and more. But hey, for streaming, I use light theme, and then for working, I use dark theme. It's kind of not a standard preference, but this is how we work. So before moving to MCP and going back to the URL with MCP, remember that here in Visual Studio Code, we have the chance to define how we want to interact with Copilot. Copilot, our AI amazing editor that we have in Visual Studio Code, works in 3 modes. And we are going to see that we have more also there. But we have Ask, the original one, questions and answer, Edit, where the Copilot can also edit files. And then you have an agent. And the idea of the agent is that it have access to all of your context. Remember that context is the important, working with models, content is important right now. And also when we switch to agents, we have access to tools. And tools is the key piece here, because we're in tools is where we are going to define what tools, when we use an agent, we want to provide access to an agent. So I have here a lot of built-in tools that came from with Visual Studio Code. And then I have also a couple of servers already added here, like an Ado, Azure DevOps server, or Playwright. We also have the box and more. So you can add more tools. How you add these tools? So there are a couple of ways. One super popular, and as I said, this is a list of tools. There are a lot of repositories with a lot of amazing servers and tools that you can use based on MCP. So you have productivity, you have data analytics. Let's go to the first one. Let's go to GitHub. So if I click install, it's going to automatically install the tool in my profile in Visual Studio Code. But what I want to do is to basically read a little between the line. I am going to open the repo where we have this, and we are going to see here that in the repo, we have the options to install this on Visual Studio Code or Insiders, which is kind of nice. If you click here, it will automatically add the configuration to your user profile for Visual Studio Code. But what I want to do, it's basically use this, where we can create a file that is going to be named mcp.json, and this file is going to have a collection of servers, the servers that I want to use. And there are 2 ways to use this depending on your version of Visual Studio Code. If you are using VS Code 1.101 or smaller, greater or smaller, a previous version, you need to define your path, personal access token, and more. In the new version, the only thing that you need to do is you need to add this code here to add a server. So I am going to add this code. And where do I add this code? As I mentioned here, in Visual Studio Code, you can have this added as a user level. So it's going to be available for you every time that you open Visual Studio Code, or you can add this in your workspace where you are going to have, in example, an MCP file. And you can see here that in the MCP file, I have 2 servers here, ADO and Playwright, which is kind of nice to have them here. ADO requires one parameter here, so I'm going to use one of the cool features that we have here. And hey, these are the ones that I'm going to see here, plus another one that I have installed at the user level. So let's add GitHub. So here, if we take a look back here to my tools, I don't have GitHub here. I have DevBox, pull request, load testing, Copilot for Azure, resources, SQL Server. I have a lot, but I don't have GitHub. When I do GitHub here, and I have this, what is going to happen is that I am going to see very, very small here. I'm going to see that I can start the server. This is going to basically ask me, okay, I'm going to start a connection with a set of tools that this MCP server is providing. And it's going to ask, the first thing it's going to ask is how I'm going to authenticate. I am going to use my GitHub account to do this. So the MCP wants to authenticate with GitHub. Yes, allow. I need to choose which one of the accounts that I want to use. My account is El Bruno. So there it is. And there it is. I have my GitHub server already connected. And it's super simple. And by the way, there are servers that, as I said, can run locally. There are servers that can run locally in Docker. There are a lot of options. We are going to see a couple, so you can take a look. But this is one of the cool things that you can do right now. So we have here 68 tools, one prompt, a lot of stuff. I can run, stop, restart the server. And then at this moment, if I go back to my tools, I am going to see that we have all of these new tools that came from the MCP server GitHub. So I can add an issue, I can add a pull request, I can cancel a workflow, create an issue, and more. I am working right now, I think I am working in a super crappy repository that doesn't have anything here. And I like it, it's fine. But what I can do is I can start to ask questions here. An example, how many issues do we have in this GitHub repo? And this is going to understand the questions, it's going to start to list the issues, and it's going to say, hey, I don't have any issue in this GitHub repo, so let's create one. Create an issue that with title. Let's go create a sample issue, title it. Let's go crazy with sample issue number 1. Create a fake issue description. So let's ask the model to create a new issue. And this is important right now because it's using a tool. It's going to ask me to, okay, yes, I want to create an issue. And it's going to say, I am going to make this request to El Bruno, to the repo, the name with the title, create something like this. So I need to decide what I want to do right now. I'm going to continue, allow every request like this in this session, in this org space, or always allow. Let's do continue, and let's work like this, and we are going to have an issue created here. If I go like this, we have this sample issue. Okay, and I am not going to do more of GitHub stuff until we start to do something real, but think about everything that you are doing right now in GitHub, and depending on everyone, because I do a lot, my team, everybody who we are working in our teams do a lot with GitHub. You can do everything in natural language using agents in VS Code. This is super amazing. But what else we can do? What other services that we have? So I have here one that I really like is Hugging Face. Hugging Face, and I know you are going to see me here. Hugging Face is kind of the GitHub for AI models. Every new model, everything happening hot right now in AI is going to happen in Hugging Face. So what I can do here, you can create a Hugging Face account, you can test it here. There are millions of models that you can use, but I also have an MCP server. So there are a couple of ways that you can do that. You can, again, I think there is a VS Code MCP that you can do, or we are going to do again this, where we are going to add the server to the MCP that we have here in the list. So I am going to have my, by the way, my format. I don't want to press my key to format the document because it's triggers something. It's another shortcut that I have in my keyboard and it's going to break everything. But I have here my Hugging Face. And I'm not going to use my token right now. I can use the token later. But what is cool right now is that, as I mentioned, Hugging Face have access, provides a lot of AI tools. Part of these tools, let's start this. Yes. authenticate, open, I have here, let's use this, authorize, go back. There it is, we are authorized. We have 11 tools right now. And if we take a look at the tools from Hugging Face, somewhere here, we have the Hugging Face tools. There it is. We have Hugging Face MCP server. We have access to datasets to train stuff. And hey, I don't like this. I don't care about this, but I want to use this. This is a super cool model, the Flux models, where that we can use to do super important stuff like this one. So let me clear the connection there, and I am going to basically let ask something super, super complicated, like create an image of a pixelated Corgi dog. I hope I write it right. So I am going to ask Visual Studio Agent, a Visual Studio Copilot in agent node here, using the tool from Hugging Face to create an image. This is going to take some time. Once again, it's going to say, hey, I know that you want to use this Flux One Schnell. Not going to do this to generate an image. Let's continue. It's going to work. This is generating an image, so it's going to take some time. But there it is. This is our image. So we have a corgi here, a corgi dog. I don't know how useful is this to this, but I want to show you the stuff that we can do. And hey, we can do more here. We can even get here, pick up the image. This is the, if I click, I am going to have this in my browser. So I can pick up the URL and I can do something like, I don't know, tell me an animal that you want to see here, and I am going to add it into the corgi. While I am checking the comments and you suggest an animal, let me add another one. Like an example, add a ninja cat, because we were doing some Windows stuff next to the corgi in this image. And just in case, I am going to do a pixelated ninja cat in the corgi in this image. We have Alpha Cyan, a Black Panther. Okay, let's do a Ninja Cat first, and then the Black Panther, a narwhal. What's this? Oh, I know a narwhal. Oh, that's a good one. Let's give it a try to a narwhal. It's okay. So continue again. Let's do allow in this session. So it's not going to ask me again. And somewhere here we have the new file. There it is. Okay, kind of nice. I like the Ninja Cat. It's really a ninja and a cat and a corgi. And let's do narwhal, sloth, a hippo, an iguana, hippopotamus. I can't even say hippopotamus in Spanish, so thanks for trying to make me say this in English. So let's see. Oh, now let's also add a narwhal. Let me see if I can do this image. Let me see if I can. So it's running. It's going to take some time. There it is. Let's take a look. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, we are asking for pixelated image. By default, the size that we have is 512 and 512, which is kind of nice, but it's nice. It works. It's there. And we can do a lot of stuff. I can even ask for bigger images. It's going to take more time and it's going to use more resources. But this is what I want to show you. We literally add 2 lines of code here to add a GitHub server that allows us to have basically interaction with GitHub. I just see Jira, so we are going to go there. Another couple of lines to do Hugging Face, and we can use these tools. And this is the moment where you can start to think how we can use this, how you are going to use these tools, these MCP tools, to do stuff. So in example, we have a question right now from So much, sorry, I am going to butcher your name. I'm the worst with names. But you are asking if we have any MCP for Jira. As far as I know, and I tested, I searched for this in a session last week, there is an MCP for Atlassian for Jira. So yes, you can even have Jira here. And if I am making this up, if you have connected your developer flow and you are working, in example, with Visual Studio Code, and you have Jira here, you can even, hey, give me this ticket, open this Jira item, close this Jira item, update this with more. And yes, it's going to be available for you to use. And again, you can add this as part of your workspace, as part of your user profile or more. The important part, and I don't want to forget to mention this, is that here we have a lot of tools. and I am using 83 right now. There is a limit that we have right now. I know people are going to ask about this, so I am going to show it right now, but there is a limit. If I select a lot of tools, let me select also, I don't know, maybe the box and load testings and Copilot for Azure. If I select, I am in 150 plus tools, right? Oh, sorry about that. If I select, let's select everything here. There it is, 172, okay. And I ask the question, try again. I am going to have currently an issue saying that, hey, we can only work with 128 tools. So this is also important, and I am explaining this so you can take a look later or something that is going to be related to this. We know even if we have access to tons of tools, it's not a good practice to basically have everything enabled, because think about that when you are talking with Copilot and you ask Copilot a question, so you give Copilot an order or something like this, Copilot need to understand the context of where you are working, and this content is a space, and the space in memory is defining for this. So it's a tricky one. So we have a limit right now, but there is a way that we can work with this. So I just wanted to show this. So, I see Javier's question. We can tackle that one later. So we were talking about, we are using MCP. We are using these tools right now. And I show you super quick how we can do images with Hugging Face and more. But we can even do more. We can even work with Playwright. If I go back, and by the way, I invite everyone to start to take a look at the servers that we have here. Let me close this and this one and this one. If you start to take a look here at the servers that we have, there are a lot of tools that you're probably already using, that if you bring the tools to Visual Studio Code, is going to be an amazing experience. Like an example, Figma. I know that my friends in DevDiv, they use a lot of Figma, and it's amazing to get a Figma design and literally implement the feature from there. We also use a lot of Playwright, and I like Playwright. Playwright is kind of a nice one, because Playwright is this tool, and we have our friends Debbie in Spain, that she's an expert on Playwright. But hey, we can have a server right now, a Playwright MCP server that is going to run locally. Take a look at this. This one is a local server that is going to run using Node, NPX, and then it's going to basically download an image and run it here with everything. And that's it. And that's everything that you need to do. Once you have Playwright running, you can start to do amazing things. So let me show you one. Christina is asking for a connection to a local DB. I have a SQL Server. We can do one later. Let me go with this one first, and then we switch to a SQL Server, and we have also to SQLite. So let me go recent, this one. Save changes. Yes, let's save the MCP. So what is this? This is a very close, or as I said, I'm going to show you stuff that we are doing in our daily basis. So this is a project. This is a .NET project, but think about a Python backend with the React front end. Think about any type of solution that you have here. And what we have is an Aspire solution. And again, bear with me. I don't want you to learn Aspire today, but I am going to start the project so you take a look. And this is a very simple, very simple e-shopping, e-commerce solution that is going to be open here. There it is. And it's going to use a backend with SQL. Oh, we can use this SQL. Maybe we can use this SQL for Christina's question. It's going to start a backend with SQL Server. Then we have a backend with APIs in products, and we have a front end. Very simple, very easy to use and more. Let's give this a couple of seconds so we can start. It's somewhere here. There it is. So started the backend. Haven't opened this in a while. So it's building everything from scratch. That's a good question. Alexander is asking if we can ask Copilot to start the desired MCP. I never think about that. Let's give it a try. Let me finish this, and we are going to try that. But yes, restart the Hugging Face server. Something like that. Let's give it a try. So this is the sample application. As you can see, this is a standard Blazor application. We have a list of products. Again, this is a Hello World application. We have a search for product name, and then we have something from rainy days. That we have also a semantic search that we can do here. It's going to take some time, but we have, yes, for rainy days, we have these products and more. So this is a standard application. Something that let me see how, because this is being recorded, let me see how I phrase this, how I say this, so my manager is happy with me. So something that I'm not a fan here is to generate documentation about this. I'm not a fan to do this documentation, whatever of this. But we need to create samples, we need to create documentation. And this documentation also includes screenshots. And screenshots are very, very time consuming. So what I usually do here in these type of scenarios, if I have, and I think I have it here, let me see if I have I don't have I need to open is this repo, but that's the app. And I have here Playwright. Yes, I have Playwright already added here. I can start to basically, ask something to the server, like it's going to be a little more complex, but it's going to basically say, you know what? Start Playwright, start this application, take a couple of screenshots, analyze the application, and then do the full, and then create documentation about the application. And this seems to be something that I can start the Playwright server, this running right now. This seems to be something that you can do manually, but if you put an agent to work like this, it's going to save you a lot of time. So what I have here, I have a very, very big prompt, and let's take a look at the prompt before moving forward. This is a big prompt, and by the way, this is all public, so you can take a look. And this is going to do this. This is going to say, hey, you know what? In this mega repository that we have right now, you are going to act as a documentation and testing agent that you are going to be responsible for generating detailed documentation and yada. We have 8 scenarios. I only want to work in these 4 scenarios, 1, 3, 5, and 8. And then for each scenario, launch the Aspire application, very similar to what we just did, and then analyze the code in the application. So enumerate all of the registered services, AI, client, search provider, custom modules, and more, and then create documentation with description, configuration sources, external dependencies, and more. Also, create a docs folder and create the markdown there. And when you are generating the documentation, include in this documentation the data and overview, create files, and create or update the docs readme, and everything should have here. We also create an architecture diagram using ASCII because I'm a fan of doing this in text mode. And then the interesting part is because we have Playwright MCP to launch and basically run this, launch the application also with this command. This is usually launched in this URL, and start to take screenshots for each one of the features and add the screenshot to the documentation. So this is a save the screenshot in the folder docs images, use as JPG, images, sorry, I get confused there. It's going to do everything, and this is the output and more. So with all of this, I can go here, go back to Copilot. Like here in my context, I'm going to use agents, I'm having GPT-1, and I can do something like this. Let's paste this one here, and let's Copilot cook. And this is a big one. This is going to do a lot of things, and this is going to use a couple, I have all of the tools. Sorry about that. So we don't need this. I'm going to leave this. We don't have the Azure MCP server. We need GitHub. Yes, GitHub, yes. Playwright, yes. I don't leave the pylons. I don't leave Bitbox and more. So I think 107. So let's do clear one more time. Oh, sorry. Let me clean the built-in ones. Okay. I'm going to leave this, and I'm going to remove the GitHub. So one more time, clear. So it's going to start to work. And remember, it's going to do a lot of things. One of the things that it's going to do right now is going to use Playwright, sorry. Figma is the next demo. It's going to use Playwright to start to get all of the screenshots. So it's going to ask step by step. Yes, let's do proceed. So now it's analyze the code, have everything there. And by the way, I'm working with GPT-4.1. You can use here if you want cloud. You can use here if you want I am going to show you a full scenario where I use Cloud Sonnet 4 to do the analysis, to create kind of the plan, and then I do all of the code generation and more with GPT-4.1. That it works great for me. So at any moment, we are going to start to see the Playwright browser starting to open and starting to work. It's going to take some time because right now it is literally analyzing each one of the scenarios, but you can see here that it's starting to get all of the internal elements that are part of this. We have application inside, Azure OpenAI, SQL Server, we have a UI for the store, we have a backend. So it's cooking, it's generating, it's working, and it's really, really great. And okay, a couple of questions here. Say prompts in MD can be used as custom model rules. Yes. By the way, if you want to know more about this, we have this repo, which is called Awesome Copilot, and it's a collection of Copilot customizations, specifically instructions, reusable prompts, and custom chat modes that have a lot of stuff. So if you are working with Angular, in example, you have here one click, install it in your development environment, or you can go there. If you work with Bicep codec practices, you can go here, take a look at the documents, and include it in your Visual Studio. This is going to be in a specific folder in your Visual Studio Code or in your profile to have this, but take a look at Awesome Copilot. I'm going to ask Larissa to share the link, but this is also a super important one that we have. Okay, let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Where is this? It's keep working, yes. Next scenario, yes, keep all of this. Let's do proceed. And by the way, the mega prompt, I like in these mega prompts, you see that when it's doing an action, it's asking me to confirm the next step. The way that I have the prompt, I like it to not do everything at once. Sometimes for these scenarios, in example, I like to take a look of what it's doing. So I can start to see, okay, you are going in the right direction or you are moving here and there. This is going to take some time, so it's going to start to add my code samples, my everything else. But what I want to show you here, in the meantime, if you want to take a look at that repo, I am going to ask again Larissa to share this link. It's part of that prompt is part of this repo. So here in the prompt, you have the repo. But what I want to show you is that I wanted to do all of this. And I also asked this to be run by GitHub Copilot Coding Agent, which is basically an agent that we have in the cloud. This agent has also MCPs. And I have here, and I ask Copilot, hey, you know what? Implement the shopping cart feature. I don't have a shopping cart feature, so implement the feature right now. So what it's doing is taking a look at the code and starting to generate the stuff. And you take a look here. This was a conversation. Every time that Copilot was doing something, I say, hey, you know what? This is amazing. We have a new UI, but this button is not working. So Copilot start to work again. Then I say, hey, now it's working, but I have this error. So Copilot start to work again and fix the error. And then I say, you know what? When I get here, I can see that I have products in the shopping cart, but there are no products. So Copilot working the error. So at the end, I said, Copilot, hey, please add screenshots. And Copilot will say that, yes, I added the screenshots. So if I go and see how Copilot work in the session, and I have this one here ready to show, we are going to see the full process here. And again, I don't want to do this live because it takes literally 20 plus minutes. But if we start to see what's happening here, it's all of the process, the bash command is readying the stuff. Let me go here until we have running the application, running the program, running semantic search. And somewhere here, we have the plan that I will create sampling mockup products. No, and let me go to the Playwright. So now it's going to start to use the server. The Playwright server is going to generate some Playwright code here, and it's going to start to, okay, this is the local host, and this is going to use this code in Playwright as JavaScript code to take the screenshot. Then it's going to generate an image named homepage.png. Then it's going to navigate to the products tabs, Once they navigate to the product tabs, it's going to wait some time, and at some moment here, it's going to is faking some data. So then it's going to wait for Works server, navigate. It's going to navigate, wait for it, and then start to get some screenshots. So at the end, what we have here, if I go back to the top, and let me go back to the pull request, if I start to see the images, the changes that have been filed and changed, we can see that there is a lot of changes here. And in the components, we also have this. And in the shop cart feature, somewhere here, if I show this, you can see that we have the screenshots of the application, even if this is not even implemented on my side. And you can see there that the images are not working of the product. This is an error that we have when running in containers in code spaces that it was using here in the back. So it did everything. Playwright, take the screenshot for me, and hey, I have everything up and running here, and it's amazing. And by the way, the whole process to generate this documentation is the one that we have in this repo for each one of the scenarios. Like an example, if I go here and start to take a look at, I don't know, like seeing real-time audio was the one that was included. This documentation is generated using agent mode with MCP, where we can see here that we have a front end that use an API. We also have an audio API in the front end that is used this and that. This is all generated by Copilot. We have deployment, we have the models, we have the screenshot. This is all generated, and the screenshot part is using MCP servers, which is, I think it's super nice because this all came from a big mega prompt that we have here. So somewhere here, we're still working on this. I should probably, as I said, I need to do a lot of proceed until we get to the screenshot part once it finishes the whole documentation. But you get the idea. It's basically use the MCP tools that we have to move forward here. And so let me go back to the... Oh, we have a good questions here. Let me go back to the comments. And by the way, I'm taking a look at the comments, try to answer them as fast as I can. Akatsuki saying that I have read some blogs that someone say that using MCP consume more token rather than call directly. I will say, depending on how you phrase, how you say that sentence, is true or not even close. When you call an MCP, of course, when you call a prompt here, an agent, and the agent using MCP tools, the agent is going to use a large language model and is going to define which tools are going to be used to solve the problem, to answer your questions, or more. So there is some large language model uses there. If you call directly a large language model, the large language model have function calling, support function calling, like in example, one of the Llama models or GPT models or more. And you also need to provide the function. So the call is going to involve some internal knowledge here and there. So I probably won't say that, yes, that sentence is true, even if someone make a test and provide with some number that this is like that, but this is the way that these things works, because MCP also add a layer that validates authentication, security, tools, and more. There is a lot of things that are going to be involved there, that if you are not going to use that, you need to manually implement that. But again, I think it's someone write something about that and prove that, I think it's probably a little clickbaity on that part to do that. John said that MCP servers are great, but it's still hard to set up. I don't know. In example, if you want to, let me see if I don't want to broke anything here, but if you want to set up your MCP server, as we see here, it's just this file. Oh my God, how many files did I open? It's just this file. We only need to set up everything that we need in this file here, in the MCP.json file. What can be very tricky is, and I also advise people to be very careful with this, if when you have a lot of MCPs servers in your definition, you enable a lot of tools, and somehow when you ask something, one MCP will figure out that can talk to another tool. Be very careful with your permissions and more. But the definition is like this. And in example, in our main server definition, I don't know, let me go to Markdown. Let's give it a try. Markdown. By the way, let's close this a little so we have more stuff. Markdown is an amazing library a Python library that basically allows you to convert anything, any type of document, PDF, Word, Excel, PPT, images, and any type of, there are a lot of supported format to Markdown. So there is a super cool Python library, and hey, someone created, why not, an MCP server. And how do you install the MCP server? First of all, you need to pip install. I don't know if pip install is an action, but I always say pip install something. You need to pip install the Markdown MCP. And then when you have it there, you need to basically add the MCP here. So let's give it a try. Do I have any documents here? I don't have documents. I think I have documents in our samples. Let me see if I have documents here. Yes, I have some documents here. I have the PDF, super nice PDF viewer that we have in VS Code. I have a German receipt that I get online, which is, this is I don't know, this is something in German, someone gets a coffee and something else. And I also have a Word document here about something. This is the document that we use to do this kind of thing. So if I want to install this, what I am going to do, I can do add server here. If you don't know your example, your JSON definition for your server, you can say, okay, what I want to do, I want to install an npm package, a pip package, a Docker image, or a command local server, or a HTTP. So this one, as far as I remember, use this Markdown MCP. So what I am going to do, I am going to install this as Markdown, and it's going to be marked as the standard IO initial. So I'm going to add a new one, command std IO, Markdown MCP. My server is going to be Markdown MCP server name. There it is. So it's somewhere here. It was very fast. Oh, sorry. It was very fast, but it's automatically started here. So right now, if I go here, let's clear output, and I go here to my tools. Let's remove a couple. We have a lot. I don't want GitHub. I don't want the Hugging Face. I want just Markdown. So I think it's fine right now. So I have Markdown MCP server. Okay. So I can do something like an example. Let's drag and drop this German receipt here. And I will say something like an example. What is this image? What is in this image? I'm going to ask this directly here. So right now, the model is going to analyze this and is going to basically understand the image and say, hey, this is what we have in the image. But I think right now I'm not using Markdown because this is probably the GPT-4 one model that understands how to use image. Let's do something else. Let's pick up the PDF. And let's do this. Convert the attached PDF to Markdown and save the content. Converted Markdown in a new file. So I'm going to ask this, and this is going to probably call the model. Let's see if it's calling the model. I don't know, but there it is. So it's calling the model. It's calling the Markdown MCP server, and it's going to convert the PDF to Markdown. So I have here the full PDF Contoso, whatever. It's our fake company to do demos, but you can see here, now it's making the conversion from a PDF. Oh my God, it was a big one. You want to save this? Yes. And what I like about this is you can do this kind of thing where you can have a conversation. So right now, we need to create a new file. Oh, I disabled the file editing tools. Okay, yes, sorry about that. I forget about this. By default, I have disabled this because, as I mentioned, I don't want sometimes when I am testing third-party MCPs so they can be able to do everything. So I disable features like editing tools and more for these scenarios where I don't want them to do crappy things on my machine. Think about that. They can create a bash script or some script and run the script. By default, I don't have that enabled. So, but you get the idea. I will do something like, let's do the Word and say something like, now convert this Word doc. Let's see if it starts to convert. Let's take a look. Harry is asking that if you can add the GitHub links to the YouTube description. Yes, we're going to work on that. John said that Markdown was read from the internet, not from the local file. Oh, I cannot touch the Word document. I don't know why. But no, it worked locally. Markdown worked locally. If you go to the code of Markdown, because it's an open source project, I can't remember who created this. It's Microsoft. I know the people can remember the names. They basically use tons of libraries to convert to everything, but it's all run locally. You can even have them running in Docker, which is kind of nice. So it's super isolated, but yes, it's local. So let me go here. We have a question, GPT-4.1 versus Cloud 4. Hey, that's a good question. So let me give you my point of view. So we have models here. We have different models. Right now, I am testing. The whole team is testing Gemini, and I am testing Gemini. I did a couple of things with Gemini in the past, but not for me. It didn't work well. 90% of my time today is working in C# and probably 10% in C++ for personal things. So for me, in the code generation part, GPT-4.1 works great. Literally, works great. I don't need to do anything else. This is what I use. That said, when I need to do some reasoning, create a PRD, a product requirement documents, or create a plan to do ABC, I go for Cloud Sonnet or O4. I know that I have friends, they are doing web stuff, people who are using TypeScript, JavaScript, and those things. Cloud usually work great also there. Again, in my experience for the C# C++ things that I've been doing, GPT-4.1 was good enough. That said, testing Gemini is very good. I was surprised of the quality of how it solves things, how updated is the model. We use a lot of new libraries, so you can know when you are using a model, if the model knows the library or not, if the model understands, having trained on that code or not. Gemini is very good. Cloud also is very good. But for me personally, what I use is I try to use them in scenarios where Cloud and O4 for reasoning stuff, create a plan, create a long documents, do something hard. And right now, GPT-4.1 is my go-to tool for code generation, for C# mostly, and C++. But hey, maybe there are other people who use other models for other things. And by the way, I haven't shown this, but I also like, and this is also a personal experience, to use, you know that we can bring your own models. We talk that you can bring your own models to be used here. So here, in my models, if I start Ollama, I just started, I am testing also these DevStral models that runs locally in your machine to do agent stuff, and it's good. It's a specific version from the Mistral models specifically created for coding agents, and it's a nice experience. But I will advise everybody, if you want to use, give it a try, because this is a mix of MCP tools, we've just seen a lot of MCP tools, plus models, plus what are you going to do. Let me show you an example of how we can even customize a little further this. So where is my little contours otra vez? So, okay. So this is another scenario that we have here in a big repo that we are working with. Oh my God, there are so many questions. Sorry if I can't see all of the questions. I try to go and answer everything that I can fast there. So we have here a lot. We have here a huge repo that has the scenario is we have a control table agency. The user can ask questions, and we have a front end that uses a lot of different MCPs written in there. They have Python MCPs, JavaScript MCP, .NET MCPs, Java MCPs. We have a lot of MCP that they talk between each other. It's a super nice scenario. But we have a couple of things that we've been working here that also when you are working in a super big environment or a scenario like this one, I don't have Java skills. I don't have JavaScript skills. And my friends can help me with that. But I also don't have Bicep skills, in example. Bicep is the infrastructure as a service product that we use to deploy to Azure, in example. So I don't know those things. If we take a look here, Oh my God, where is this? I don't have it there. GitHub, action, workflow, code. So if we take a look here, oh, I deleted them. Yes, I can install. If I go to Awesome Copilot again, let me go back to Awesome Copilot. Oh. We have here some chat modes where we have specific version that are going to be kind of experts in accessibility, in Bicep, in C#, debug mode, and more. So if I want to install this, let me install the Bicep in Visual Studio Code. So it's going to be installed. So a couple of seconds later, what I am going to have here, oh, I have the configuration somewhere else. So let me start Visual Studio Code again. Let's see. Okay, I will manually do this, but I can create here in GitHub my chat modes files, and these files are going to be the one that are going to define how the model should behave when we're using the agents, and also which tools are we going to use. So you can do a first filters of the tools there. If we go here to an example, the Bicep one, we will see that it has some Bicep mode, has some Discover modes and more. And hey, everything is here. I also think I have a pull request with the Bicep one. Yes, that because there is already one in the previous one. We haven't used it, but there it is. This is where is my file? There it is. This is my Bicep file that have a lot of tools that use out of the box. So it's kind of a first filter. Remember when we talked at the beginning that we have tools, we need to limit the tools. Using chat modes is a great way to do this. And then we have naming conventions and more. And by the way, you can see here that if you want to share a prompt, if you want to share something that you're using with Copilot right now and you think is going to be reusable, go to this folder. Go to this repo, create a pull request, and depending on which area it is probably we are going to have people in the team who are going to give you some feedback or add it to the project and more. This is a super useful one. And I know that we are getting at the end of the hour, so let me take a quick look to the comments. Oh my God, trying to... So we have a Keenan say, can I know if MCP is still evolving or is widely acceptable already? Can we already start using in full scale? I will say yes. I will say yes, you can start to use it. And everybody's using MCP. So in example here, we can see that at the end of this month, I think it's 29 and 30 of July, keep me honest, yes, 29 and 30, we are going to host the MCP Dev Days online. It's going to be a full day with a lot of sessions around that. So I will say, yes, go for MCP. And remember, we've seen how we are using this in Visual Studio Code as part of code, but you can add MCP capabilities to your applications where you can basically use some MCP tooling for an external server or a local server, or expose some of your functionalities, features, and more as MCP. So give it a try. And yes, this is going to happen at the end of the month. And it's here. I think MCP is here to stay. So we have another question. Can you use MCP for customized code generation? Yes. What we saw around the custom instructions in example, those scenarios are basically defined if you are working with code, how the code should work. In example, in our teams, and you can take a look at the repo that we share, there are a couple of samples there. We have an agent.md, which is going to be the Copilot agent instructions. And because we work in the C# samples, we always ask that, hey, if you are creating a new function, you always need to create a test. If there is already a test project for that, create the documentation, and we provide samples. So yes, we provide coding guidelines and even architectural guidelines, like in example, go always for HTTP, HTTPS, never go for HTTP, and more. You can provide all of that context to the GitHub Copilot, and this is going to work. And by the way, this is also going to be passed to the MCP tools so they know what to do. What else we have here? We have questions around models. Yes, we talk about models. And we also prompt rules. We talk about prompt rules, WinSurf, IDMCP. I never test that to have this kind of, I don't understand the question from Hello World, but it seems that we have a WinSurf IDE MCP that is installed that basically runs in the browser. Yes, we can probably see a lot of MCP running in the browser. Not sure about that. I mean, I'm super sensitive in terms of what do you want to do with your servers, compared to Markdown, these kind of things, which are easy, fine. When you start to connect with your GitHub, with your Jira, with your ADO, with sensitive information, be careful. But yes, we're probably going to see extensions in the browser doing that. And we haven't tested to start to stop the MCP. We can probably give that a try. Let me go back here to the MCP. JSON, we have the playwright, stop. Let's clear this. Start the playwright. I always MCP server. Oh, it give me the access to the terminal, so I can go here and apply this in the terminal, but it's not going to do it. Okay, so it's kind of Chromium true and more the model context. No, it's not going to do it. It's going to give me the terminal stuff, so I can do insert into terminal, and then it's going to run here, but it's going to run the terminal. But no, it seems that we can't have that. That's a good feedback. I am going to talk with Burg, Pierce, and the team here to see if we want to have it there. I can't think of a scenario to do this, but it's always nice to have this. Oh, by the way, you can even go to the GitHub repo and ask this to be used there and create an issue or make a discussion or something so we can add that feature. And oh my God, we are almost at the end of the hour. Cynthia, I know that we are finishing and I know that we only have 2 more minutes. Oh my God, I start to show stuff and I know that we have the local DB questions and more. We are not going to have time to do that, but time flies. Sorry for the missing questions, everyone.
Thank you so much, Bruno. So as we are really sharing with everyone here in the chat, so we are going to have the MCP Dev Days end of this month. So Lari will share here in the chat the link for registration. So we hope you all had a great time here with Bruno exploring all the MCPs. I personally love the Ninja Cat and all the avatars you created. So I think it was amazing. So yes, we now would say thank you for everyone for joining, and especially Bruno for sharing his tips and tricks with MCP. And we want to invite all of you to join us the MCP Dev Days, and we hope to have it included in Spanish version, right, Bruno? So is everyone here? I saw from few people from Mexico and the other countries, so we are going to have even more Spanish-speaking content here on the VS Code channel. So thank you so much, and thank you, Bruno. Hope to see you soon.
Goodbye, everyone.